Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? I this topic has been coming up just over and over and over again lately. So I am going to break a complex topic down into something that is much more simple and much more palatable to not only understand but execute. So, who loves market research? Usually, whenever I talk with women about performing market research, few things happen. They get those butt pucker moments where it's like, oh, don't make me do it. Or they typically will say, well, I did it a few years ago when I started my business, or I've done it once, or I've halfway done it. And I've had some women say, market research, you know, so kind of everything in between. You're in good company. This is one of those topics that it's not the sexy work. If you know anything about me, I have all these little things and sayings, and the reason why I do is to help them kind of stick in your brain. So if they kind of have something fun attached to them, they typically will stick into your brain. But this is not a sexy uh, business operation. I will just tell you that right now. But it's one of those absolutely necessary, like, you have to do it. Okay. If Unless you don't want to be successful, so you do have a choice there. But I typically am not in the business of saying, like, this is something you must do, but market research is truly something that you must do. Okay. If you have any hope of connecting with a cold audience, who is your target market, uh, you have to do this. Okay. So I'm going to break it down in a way that hopefully will make a lot of sense, and you will be able to work through it systematically and very strategically. So, um, the first thing that I recommend that you do is you have to get clear on the problem you solve. Okay. So, I was chatting with a woman the other day, and I asked her what problem she solved. And 2 or 3 minutes went in, and she was talking about the different things. And it's not that she was wrong. She wasn't, wrong. It's that if she would have taken that information and tried to do market research on it, oh, that would have been a seriously daunting task. So I was able to break it down to her, and it really had to do with overcoming negative mindset. And, you know, and that's what it boiled down to. So, took 2 or 3 minutes worth of conversation about the problem she solved, got it down to literally like 2 words. And so then I proceeded to guide her on the different things that she should, I recommend that she do some market research on, and some different keywords and different types of things associated with that. So, as best as you can, and if you need help with it, definitely reach out. But you've got to get the problem you solve really down to 2 or 3 keywords. Okay. So, for example, my keywords are stagnation, invisibility, meaning that the women who I work with, who are typically coaches, not always, but they typically are some type of coach. But I do have like financial planners and real estate agents, and oh, I think those are the only two non coaches that I have at the moment, anyhow. But I've worked with other non coaches in the past, like accountants and CPAs and that type of thing. Um, and then the other problem that I solve is lack of revenue. So those are the three main problems that I solve. Now, you've probably, even if you've known me or had any type of conversation with me, you probably have never heard me break it down into that, those words, right? Because that's, you got to go into more than that whenever you're producing content, wherever you're um, adding information to your landing page or website, or whatever it is. You got to go a little bit deeper, but not so much. You don't want to um, go on and on and on for minutes trying to explain to people that the problem you solve. So there's a happy medium there. And so one of the things that I do, and you've probably heard me say this, is whenever I'm in networking situations and they're like, you have 30 seconds to introduce yourself, and I'm like, hi, my name's Angie Giltner, I'm a master business coach, and all I do is show female founders how to increase their revenue. That's it. Literally, that's all that I say. For one, those types of networking situations, you know how I feel about those. Um, but that's all I say. I don't say anything else. There's enough, it piques enough curiosity, like, tell me more. If they want to know more, they'll ask. But when they're in a networking situation, they don't ask because we don't have time to ask. In those type of traditional networking settings, which is why I created Coaches Confidential Networking. We do things so much differently, but that's not why I'm here today. So I wanted to show you what this looks like in action. And so I'm going to share my screen here, but I really, you've just got, and I don't want you to think about your avatar or your target market. Okay. Just put that to the side at the moment, because this is where a lot of women in business, they start to try to make a round peg fit into a square hole. And this is one of those situations where you can't. Okay. Most of the time, I am anti status quo, I am anti cookie cutter, but when it comes to market research, there really are some strategic things that if you want to get it right, this is what I highly recommend. I've seen this work out time and time and time again. And once you gain a lot of clarity around the problem you solve and the market, and then you go into the market research piece of it, then you can start speaking fluent avatar. And I'm going to show you what that means or looks like here in just a second. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can see. Okay, so I am doing some work with an OBM. Um, and one of the things is, she's never really performed market research before. And so she has done some well, we did some market research together, and we used a myriad of different things. The other thing is, like, where do I go to even look, to gain that information for market research? And the answer is it depends on your business. Like, all of these recommendations that I gave to her, they're not necessarily going to be the places I would recommend for you. Okay. Because she's very niche with her OBM. Much like me, I only work with female founders. I love my husband, but I don't want to work with him. And so anyhow, and she's pretty much the same. She's got a hard line in the sand about, where she only wants to work with a specific group. And if you have a hard line in the sand, that's fine, but you really need to make sure that they are looking for the solution that you offer. Okay. So this is where a lot of coaches will tell people, identify your avatar, then go out and find their pain points. I disagree with that. Okay. I say you got to go out and find the solution and understand the solution that you offer. Then you do your market research, and it will reveal to you the audience who is looking for that solution. Okay. So it's if you think about it like this, if you do it the old way, you are chasing information. You're just chasing it and you're trying to find any ounce of information that you can find that supports that population wanting your solution. Okay. When you do it the way that I recommend, which is identify the problem, do the market research, and the market research will reveal your target market, then you know exactly. You're not chasing information. It's going to reveal itself as to who is seeking that information, and it might surprise you. You might think that your target market is, men between the age of 25 and 55, and they have a master's degree and blah, 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 blah. And come to find out that the market who is searching for your solution are really men who are over 50 and are getting ready for retirement. And so you would have spent all that time talking to those who were younger than 50, the men younger than 50, who don't care about your solution. Does that make sense? Okay. So if you have any questions, definitely let me know. So anyhow, so I helped this OBM with her. And this, oh, the other one I want to say too is I was working with another coach, and she said that she's been informed that hashtags are dead. And I said, okay, let's talk about that, because her market are women 50 and over, and she has done some market research about that. And I said, now I want you to think about this. I said, that's me. I'm 50 plus three, and so I'm over 50. And hashtags are very much alive and well for us. They might not be alive and well for Generation Alpha, Generation Beta. You know, they might be like, look, that's too much work. That's too much typing. I'm not going to do all of that, which sounds about right for those generations. But for Gen Zs like myself, hashtags are very real. So although hashtags might not be as popular as they used to be, you got to think about your audience. And she was like, I didn't even think about that. And I said, yeah, I said, so that's why when you listen to all of this, I will call it noise out there, most of the time, they're only giving you part of the information. And that's where customization just comes in. I mean, you could just see it played out right there in that one example. All right. So, anyhow, so one of the things that this OBM was struggling is to find out where her avatar is hanging out online. This is where she's going to have to do some work, because it wasn't clear in the market research where her avatar was hanging out online. So I said, well, you're going to have to get to work. And this is the not sexy part. All right. And I will tell you that every quarter, every single quarter, so 4 times a year, I sit down and I schedule a day. And it usually only takes me 4 to 6 hours. But by then, my eyes are fatigued. I am like, my brain is fried, and I just am like, oh, okay, I can't do anymore. So I schedule one day 4 times a year, and all I do is market research, and it is deep and wide, because I really want to be able to speak fluent avatar. And here's how you do that. I said, you're just going to have to get to work. And I think she wanted to throw rocks at me. But it's necessary. And I'll show you why here. So she's got to start to figure out, okay, is it Facebook groups? And I'm like, you're going to have to take notes. You're going to have to, whatever system works best for you. I'm a pen and paper kind of gal. Some women do a spreadsheet. I use Trello, and I have a whole Trello board of market research. And I'm not going to I will not show it to you, because if you see it, your eyes will go cross-eyed. You will immediately get overwhelmed. And then here's what happens. Then typically, whoever I show my board to, they think that's what they have to do. No, remember, I've been in business for 12 years, so I've been doing this a long time. And I don't have my original stuff in there, but I've really gone deep in this, and you've probably heard me talk about Fiona, who's my avatar. So, anyhow, um, I understand her very well, and I can speak fluent Fiona because of the market research that I do. But you do what works best for you. Whatever that system is, there's no right or wrong way. If it's a Google Doc, it's an Excel spreadsheet, whatever, screenshots, pen and paper, whatever, sometimes sticky notes, whiteboards, whatever it is. Um, just make sure that you take notes because you'll never remember. It's too much. All right. So she's just got to start going through communities. And this is what she's literally going to copy and paste these and put them right into her favorite search engine. Now, a lot of people forget about YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine out there next to Google. All right. So don't forget about YouTube. And you might be thinking, a Reddit community, why would I search YouTube? Because you don't know what's out there. It might come up nothing, literally, but you might catch on to a hidden gem where you're like, oh my gosh. So don't poo-poo YouTube making an assumption that a LinkedIn community isn't going to be found on YouTube, because there might be, even if it's just one person, maybe they've done some work for you and you just have to watch their videos. Okay. If it comes up nothing, it comes up nothing. You just make note of that. Just because it comes up nothing now doesn't mean that it's going to come up nothing in 3 or 4 or 6 months whenever you do market research again. Okay. So just make note of it and say, as of today's August 5th, 2025, as of this day, nothing was revealed on YouTube. Circle back to YouTube when you do it again. All right. Might come up nothing again, but you might touch upon that golden nugget. You just don't know. So don't leave that stone uncovered. All right. And then, so yeah, so she's going to go into Facebook, search these groups. She's going to go into Reddit, search these groups. She's going to go into LinkedIn, search these groups. She's going to search them on Google. She's going to search them on YouTube or whatever, and other search engines, all that type of thing. Now, I need to address kind of the elephant in the room. And I've had a lot of women put this into Chat GPT and say, do my market research. AI has its place, okay? It does. And there are moments in my business whenever I use AI. I have a great video that I'd be glad to share on how you reverse engineer your goals all the way down to daily tasks using AI, and how it will significantly increase the likelihood of you achieving your big goals by doing it this way. So AI has its place. I'm not poo-pooing on AI. You cannot short market research. You can't take the shortcut out. All right. Um, it's I've just seen it happen. I can always tell, whenever one of my clients does market research and they come back and say, oh, this is what I found. And I'm like, AI. And they're like, how'd you know? And I'm like, oh, it's so obvious. So it'll only give you a piece of the puzzle. All right. You need the whole puzzle to be able to speak fluent avatar. So that's why this is so important. And when you speak avatar, then women will, or I say women because they're my market, they will jump into your inbox very, very easily and very, very quickly. I'm going to show you what that looks like at the end here. But so the other thing is, you want to talk about, they always talk about the pain points. Now, me, I kind of flip things on its head a little bit. But for this, because I'm more about speaking of symptoms, and think about when you go to the doctor, right? Like, I have a sore throat. Oh, my throat hurts. Oh, I don't know what's wrong. But I know the symptom that I have is a sore throat. It's hurting. It's causing me to not feel very well. Maybe I have a headache associated with it. It's hard for me to swallow. Well, that could be a lot of things. It could just be postnasal drip, because postnasal drip can cause irritation in the throat, all the way up through, it could be strep throat or something worse, but you don't know until you go get an assessment. So you don't want to start off by marketing and saying, I've got the cure for your strep throat. I mean, not that, you get where I'm going with this, right? And because it might not be strep throat, it's like, if you are having a chronic sore throat, I've got the solution for you. Do you see the difference? Do you see how much more powerful it is? That's that's the beginning of Speaking Fluent Avatar. All they know is, oh, their throat hurts and it's hard to swallow. Is it hard? Are you sick and tired of having a hard time swallowing, because your throat hurts? I understand that, blah, 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 blah. Versus, I've got the cure for your postnasal drip. Well, it might not be postnasal drip. Okay. So, anyhow, um, so these are the things that, her audience could be searching, and these are some things just based on some market research that we've done. These are some things that have been revealed. And based on how she serves, some of these came out of how she serves, the problem that she solves. And so, so she's going to be doing lots of searching on these types of things, going out and finding different forums, lots of like Hubspace or I'm sorry, HubSpot and all, I can't remember all of them. There's just too many of them, but there's a lot of forum discussions out there that for anything and every topic you could ever possibly imagine, there is a forum for, and you're just going to have to go diving for it. All right. And then, Quora is another one, and then solution seeking behavior. And then, so this is how they're searching for help. And so, these are the different types of things. These are the searches that this OBM is going to do, to really gather as much information as she humanly possibly can about all of these things. And then part of market research is competitor analysis. All right. You have to do it. Once again, it's not sexy. And once again, this typically gets outsourced to AI. It'll only give you a piece of the puzzle. Do you see why this takes all day? I mean, can you see now? Just mark it in your calendar. Make sure that you have a lot of bandwidth that day. Take breaks, get up, move around, every half an hour, 45 minutes, move your booty and, stay hydrated and just keep plugging through. But I'm telling you, this will pay off. This will pay off huge for you. And you'll be speaking fluent avatar in no time. And, and then I'll always look for alternative solutions, because most of the time people are looking for the easy way out. Where's that easy button, right? We all know that from the Staples commercials. It's like, where's that easy button? I need to find that easy button. That's human nature. They want to get there quicker, they want to get there faster, and they want to get there cheaper. Okay. Those are three big motivators when it comes to making decisions, but you need to understand those. You got to understand. And I'm going to show you an example of how I combat that in a few moments. And then different podcasts that they're listening to. If your audience is consistently listening to, like I have two podcasts, The Girl with the Purple Hair Talks Business, where I showcase women in business. That's the sole purpose that podcast exists. And then I have the Unapologetically Unstoppable Women podcast that I do with Ian Hunter and Lori Piper. And we get real. Like, we cry on there. We laugh on there. We laugh so hard that tears run down our legs sometimes. And we get real. And we talk about real business. We talk about real life. We talk about real emotions. We get very vulnerable on there, and we have a lot of inspiring stories on there. And then we always, always, always provide, whenever this podcast is over, you can immediately implement. And we all give our favorite tips, tricks, strategies, tools, whatever it is. and you'll find something that resonates with you that you can take away and immediately implement. So two very different podcasts, but whether it's those or something else, you really need to find out, and because this is going to tell you a lot about them. There's something about that podcast that they're very attracted to, so you got to figure out what that is. And then I call it R&D. You've heard me say this, right? Rip off and duplicate. What is it that that podcast person is doing, or any of like your competitors? What is it that they're doing that is really attracting your avatar like a moth to a flame? All right. But you got to make it your own. You can't do it exactly like them, because you are you and your authenticity has to shine. I haven't even gotten into the importance of the unique value proposition and all that, because that's all important. But you've got, even if you R&D, you can take nuggets away, but you've got to make it your own. You've got to make it authentic to you and to your brand. But so these are, YouTube content, blogs, and websites. And then this one, for me, this one's the worst. To me, this is the industry insights and trends. This is the most boring reading for me. But you might love this, but it's not sexy. I can't stress it enough, but it's vitally, vitally important. If you want to succeed, whatever your definition of success is in business, you've got to do this. All right. And you can throw rocks at me later. And finding out what other OBMs are charging. That's so important. Where do you fit in that? You always want to be in the middle, but higher. Does that make sense? You don't want to be the top, but you want to be the middle and then go higher. And so you're really sitting about, 3/4 of the way up the ladder when it comes to pricing. And but the only way to know that is to go out and look at your competitors, see what they're charging, see what the market research is telling you, so that you make really good data-driven decisions. And then you got to look at what social proof are out there, what are things, what are people saying about your competitors and alternatives and stuff like that. Compare those to the social proof that you have. Where are they similar? Where are they different? If they're different, that's great, because that's a unique value proposition. Okay. So if you weren't sure, because you want to make your unique value proposition really shine and really stand out. And it's like, yes, people say this about my competitors, but this is what they say about me. And I'll show you what that looks like as well. So reviews and testimonials, and tools and resources that they use. Now, once again, this is for OBMs. Not all of these are going to necessarily apply. Most of them will. They will just look very different, because this is specifically for OBMs. Okay. And for the market research that I should say that we performed and whatnot. But she needed to go deeper and wider, and that's why we arrived at this, educational and then going through all of these for her. Now, you might find, and you're doing market research, and like for me, I've been doing this long enough. I am to the point now where I no longer look on TikTok. That is not where Fiona is hanging out. She might be hanging out there to stalk her family, but she is not there to seek business advice or business wisdom. She might come across a clip or two that is appealing to her, but for the most part, that is not where she is hanging out. But I've learned that over probably, I would say, the last 5 to 7 years, and it's been consistent. But you know what? I still give a quick check. Okay. But I don't spend a lot of time there. I go in, it takes me 1 to 2 minutes, and I'm like, this is pointless, and I bounce back out. So I've gotten to that point. So some of it can be done quickly, because it's one of those things, if you know, And I know my Fiona well enough, and I talk to my Fiona almost every single day. And so I really know where, she's hanging out. And then don't forget about the seasonals, like the highs and lows. Like I'm also, I speak on a lot of stages. And matter of fact, in October, I'm going out to south of Chicago, and I'm going to be speaking at a women's event out there. And I get asked to speak on a lot of virtual stages and in-person stages as well. Last year in November, I went to Boston and spoke at the National Association of Realtors conference, where there was like 12,000 plus realtor and realtor adjacent business people, and I spoke to them about personal branding and all that. So anyhow, uh, so you want to know, and those are seasonal, those tend to be like January, February, March, tons, because it's wintertime, and people are looking for something to kind of break up the monotony. It's wintertime in the US, I should say, and US people are looking to break up the monotony, and they're tired of it being dark at 5 p.m. and all that kind of stuff. So they just want some different kinds of things. And so that's why speaking gigs are really high. And then September, October, and then the first part of November are also really high. So I know that speaking gigs are very seasonal, because in the summertime, nope, the summertime in the United States, I know they're like, I want to be outside. I want to be with my family. I want to be vacationing. I am not going to take the time to go to, whether it's virtually or in person. There's always exceptions. I'm making some generalizations, but I know that the first quarter, and then, the last part of Q2 and the beginning of, or Q3 and the beginning of Q4, those are the high seasons for speaking. And it's important for you to understand those, because in the middle is where, if I'm not getting asked to go out and be on stage, so from like May, June, July, and August, I'm looking for opportunities to go out and be on stage, if my calendar isn't booked with the amount of um, speaking engagements that I would like it to be. So it's super important that you understand the patterns and the seasons associated with the services that you provide. Right. And then just some advanced type of things. Social listening is huge. There's Google Trends you can set, and you can get Google Trends sent straight to your inbox, whether it's daily or weekly. You can set that up where you get alerts, and I get them every day. Sometimes I read them, sometimes I don't, but the ones I don't read, I put in a folder and I use them for part of my market research whenever I schedule the day. And there's with OBMs, there's just different kinds of things. And so then there's some strategy tips that I like to give, because and this can be universal. When you want exact phrases, put the quotation marks. That helps you speak fluent avatar. So the exact phrases that they're looking for based on the market research. And um right here, this is an example of, when do entrepreneurs hire help? You just copy and paste that whole thing with the quotes and everything in the various search engines and all the different things. So, just some little tips, because those little adjustments make the biggest difference. And then, add a year, and you can forecast. You can, it's August of 2025. If you want to know some future trends and forecasts, add 2026 in there. I like to do 1 year. I like to do 1 year behind. I like to do current year, and I like to do 1 year in the future. Once again, not sexy. It adds to my workload. Absolutely. Is it worth it? Absolutely. So, and then, if you're not someone who, takes screenshots, or whatever system works best for you, like I have a whole combination of things. I throw screenshots in my Trello board for market research, and different kinds of things. So this is what, for an OBM, this is what market research can look like for her. And it says quality market research can't be done. It just cannot be done in 15 minutes. All right. This is something you have to spend a lot of time on. So I'm going to go out and I want to show you what some of the things that I said really look like and how I apply it in real life. All right. All right. Let me share my screen again. Whoops. Let me do it this way. Okie dokie. So I like to add this, it just gives a little bit about um, what they're about to dive into because Fiona is very specific. And I've got her drilled down. I mean, in my mind, I can picture her as if she is a living and breathing person. I know so much about Fiona, my avatar, because I really understand her. And so this is something that she's attracted to. She wants the little bit of the rebellious edge. She likes a little bit of sass. She's very much attracted to my brand of anti cookie cutter, anti status quo, anti one size fits all, anti plug and play, because customization is where it's at. And so anyhow, so I'm really looking, at the different things. She wants a profitable business, and I'm only, you if you've been around me for any amount of time, only the bold shall enter when it comes when it comes to working with me. Because if you're someone who um, wants fluff or superficial or doesn't hold people accountable, if that's the type of coach you like to work with, well, you're not going to like working with me at all because I hold women accountable very gently. I'm not like cracking the whip or anything, but I have been known to send a message and say, okay, I haven't seen any work from you for a couple of days. What's going on? How can I help? Hope everything's okay. And to keep the motivation going and that type of thing. And I'm not afraid to just call a spade and say, look, I know you want to shortcut this, and I know you want to shortcut market research, and you can, but what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So if you put crap into it, you're going to get crap out of it. And that's just the fact of the matter, just like everything else in life. So you can shortcut it. It's your business. And if that's what you choose to do, then that's what you choose to do. It's not what I would recommend, but it's going to hurt your long term success. But if that's what you choose, then that's what you choose. And so that's an actual conversation that I've had with one of my clients. But that's what Fiona likes. So, anyhow, these are just different things that I have gathered from market research. All right. And so, Fiona wants to do business on her terms with her rules and her definition of success, not somebody else's definition of success. So, a lot of this has come directly from the market research that I have performed and the things that are most attracted to Fiona. Okay. Like this is like a moth to a flame for her. The other thing is, Fiona doesn't mind spending $500 on a Kate Spade purse, but when it comes to investing into her business, she can be a little tight. She can clutch her purse a little bit tight to her heart and say, "I'm not sure I want to give up that money." So I have a couple of different options to address that. And of course, my one-on-one, the median price to work with me one-on-one for 12 weeks is $3,999. But I offer an alternative to that. And this is a very budget friendly group coaching. It's $900 for the year, so very affordable, very budget friendly. And but once again, all of this information comes from market research. This isn't things that I thought of off the top of my head. This is all different types of language that Fiona has told me over the years that are of interest to her and are of priorities to her. Always got to add in some social proof there, and it's important that Fiona knows that she's not alone, because a lot of times she can feel like she's alone. So I say many clients show up with no previous revenue generation because she can be a little embarrassed about either the amount of money that she hasn't made or the fact that she hasn't made any money. And I never ask people, I never ask women, how much revenue did you make in 2024? That's not even a question. I would never ask that, because I would be insulted if somebody asked me that question. But I put it right out there and say, even if you haven't made any generated any revenue, we can still work together, and here's how, type of thing. And this puts Fiona at so much ease. And then she's like, okay, I'm not alone in this. I don't have to worry. I'm not going to be judged when I step into this space, and it's just not even, it's a non-issue. Okay. So just different kinds of things. The other thing is Fiona can get a little gun shy. And so there's a 30-day trial, and she's like, okay, so I can feel good knowing that I can come in for 30 days and my card's not going to be charged until the end of the 30-day trial. And then there's a price lock, lifetime price lock guarantee, because although Fiona can take risks in a lot of things, like she doesn't mind jumping out of an airplane, but when it comes to money, she's a little risk adverse. She's a lot risk adverse. And she's like, I've worked too hard for where I've for what I have, and I'm just not willing to just depart with it very easily. So I've got to prove it to her. Sorry. That Canadian smoke is real. I mean, it is heavy down here in Ohio. Um, and so this is a way that I combat that and say, look, I'm going to make it super easy for you. It's very budget friendly. Once you lock in at that price, every renewal that you're guaranteed your price will never go up for life. Okay. There's weekly group coaching, which end up being weekly masterminds, which is one of the things that I love about this community of women. They all pour into one another. It's so beautiful to sit and watch. It's amazing. Then I have weekly open office hours. So women can pop in, ask a question, pop right back out, get on with their day. A lot of women will use this for co-working time. I had a coach the other day. She sat in and she asked some questions about her market research. She put herself on mute. She put the volume way down so she couldn't hear me talking to the other people, or the other women who were popping in to open office hours, and she was performing market research. When she had a question, she came off mute, turned her volume up, asked me the question. I answered it, and she went right back to work. And so there's a lot of different ways that women use the open office hours. There's a whole library of resources that I keep updated, because nothing, I get so irritated. I've joined these communities before, and Fiona doesn't like it either, when you join these communities and you start seeing information and it's like, wasn't that information like from COVID days? Okay, we're past COVID days. It's time to update your library. Okay. So I keep the library very fresh, very up to date. And then, like I said before, it's, just a bunch of female founders who pour into each other. And Fiona wants to know, she's very much about give me the things, because Fiona, once she makes her mind up, like she reads this and she's like, I'm instantly gonna buy. That's not a problem for Fiona, but she wants all the information. What does your avatar want? Maybe your avatar just wants the 30,000 foot view and doesn't want all the information. So your website or landing page could look very, very different. Maybe your website or landing page has a video on it because that's what your avatar wants. And this is where, once again, that customization is key. I'm speaking fluent avatar on this website because that's what I know Fiona wants. Your avatar, you might say, "Oh, I just love this person's website, and I'm going to set it up like theirs." And because you were R&D and rip off and duplicating, right? But then you're like, "Why aren't I getting any organic clicks?" And why, you look at your data analytics and nothing's happening, and it's like, well, because you're not speaking fluid avatar. And it's could be that your avatar wants just a simple video that leads into a funnel. And they don't want all of this information and they're ready to make a decision now. And if you can wow them right out of the gate, you're going to get that sale. So do you see, are you starting to see how it is so important to really do your market research and do it well so that you can speak to your avatar in a way that they want to be spoken with, not in a way that you think they want to be spoken with? Hope you see the difference there. And then Fiona likes that I can be a little contrarian and I call out the baddies. She actually likes that little edge about me. And one of the things that she's attracted to is the fact that I'm not afraid to call a spade a spade. And, and here's the truth. You see all of these experts and gurus and, these coaches out there who make these big claims, but here's the truth of the matter that they're never going to tell you. Well, I'm going to tell you, okay? And if it were easy, if their formula was really easy, I wouldn't have a business. Let's just be honest about that. If what they claim was really that easy and 10K months were a breeze and anybody can make them because it's super easy to do, I wouldn't have a business. So the fact that I've been in business for 12 years tells me, sure, does it work for a small portion of the population? People who are little clones of them? Absolutely. But you're not a little clone of anyone. You're you, and you should be treated as you. Same thing with your avatar. My Fiona isn't a little clone of anybody. She's her own standalone woman in business. And she doesn't fit into any box. She is the square peg and who is not trying to fit into a round hole. Okay. So it's really important that you understand those types of things. And anyhow, more testimonials. But here's one that I really, really wanted to show you that really hits the mark. And then this is about once again, the networking. The networking is fairly new, so I'm still really honing in on the avatar language there. But same thing like with the price point, because people they say, oh, bottom of the barrel, bargain bin, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm speaking fluent avatar, but for this audience, for the Coaches Confidential, I am creating a movement. And so I really am very, very clear on that. I am very clear on that. And $200 a year, that's nothing. That is absolutely nothing, especially for the return on investment that you get from being inside of Coaches Confidential. Because this movement or this revolution, it shouldn't be a luxury. And so I'm not out there trying to build an empire. I'm trying to build an uprising where women are standing firm in their own voice and saying, I want to do business my way, not the way someone else tells me I should do it. Okay. So anyhow, and I'm not trying to price any woman out of this. So I've made it super, super right here, only the bold challenger. You heard me say that. And I keep prices low, not because I can't command more, because I can't. I have women who pay, $7,700 to work with me. But this movement requires the masses. So I have just eliminated any barrier to entry, because real change happens when every coach, consultant, or speaker can afford to be part of the solution. And that's the same thing with the group coaching. I have just eliminated all of the barriers to that, because my ultimate mission is your success, whatever your definition of success is. And I'm really, really, I'm just trying to make a massive impact in that. And so that's why I keep prices for these two programs just about as low as I can possibly get them. Okay. But I still offer a lot of value. So, and I just won't give them away for nothing because there's too much value in there. But so this talks about how it was created and that type of thing. But here's one. This is what I mean. So far, this has been a great conversation starter. So, what do Coco Chanel and me have in common? Well, ultimately, the fact that we're women. But this brand, if you will, and you'll see, this branding is consistent throughout what you just about the group coaching and the networking is very on point, and it's throughout the whole website. Um, but because I love the rebelliousness of the flapper era and women who are like, I'm gonna have short hair, and I'm gonna wear it proudly, and I'm gonna go into places where typically women weren't permitted to go, such as the speakeasies. And I'm not going to wear a dress that goes to the floor. I'm gonna wear my, I'm going to show my legs. I'm going to show my knees. I'm going to wear sleeveless. And Coco Chanel was a big, big part of that movement of just really leading the way and trailblazing the way for women to show up as you. Not don't conform to what society says you should look like or wear or anything like that. You show up as you. So these flappers showed up very boldly, very proudly, with the feathers in their hairs and their fascinators and their pearls and their gloves. And I just love it all. So this is just a great topic of conversation, and you can see the flapper there. And it's really just the compliments, because if the testimonials, if you go out and, who doesn't, I mean, if you're someone like me, I am, especially when it comes to purses, I like the luxury. I will not pay luxury prices. I will find them on the discount stores, and I will buy last year's model and all those different things. But anyhow, so there's just, I just go on and on and on about, some different things. So, finding ways to really just, because everything you do is going to be based on market research, all the way down to your content that you're putting out there, where you're showing up, all of the different things. So I hope you found this really beneficial and really informative. If you have any questions, definitely reach out, but don't skimp on this. Just please do yourself a favor and don't skip on this. If you don't know how to get started, or if it just seems so overwhelming and so daunting, reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. If you're not sure how to break down the solution you solve into, or, the problem you solve into a couple of words, let's have a conversation. I'll help you gain some clarity around that, because I'd hate to see you waste time doing market research on the wrong things, and don't guess. Okay, that's the last piece of wisdom I'm going to share with you in this. Don't guess. If you're not sure, start doing market research and see if your guess or your assumption plays out. And you'll quickly learn if it's going to play out or if it's not. If it's not, make note of it and move along. Okay, don't spend a lot of time going down that rabbit hole. Don't chase the information trying to find something that validates one of your assumptions. If the validation isn't there, it isn't there. And just chalk it up to, well, I assumed and I assumed incorrectly, so I'm going to move on. Okay. All right. I hope you have found this informative, and I will talk with you very soon. Bye bye.